Big matchup on Monday for Houston. Frank Ross, what matters right now to you?
The only thing in the world that matters to me right now is my family and being 3-3. That is it.
Texan fans, let's be more like Frank Ross.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode of the Locked On Texans podcast is for Texan fans all around, no matter where you are. I appreciate you for watching today's show, especially my everydayers from the Himalayas making the Locked On Texans podcast your first listen of your day. And also for the newcomers, you guys have done an amazing job helping me get to nearly 10,000 subs on YouTube. And we got a fun show for you today. I am a Texas Credential Media member and football analyst. You can also find my work over on 4 Times. John Hickman, I'm going to get my final thoughts before the game. I'm still not sure if you can pull it off. I think it'll be a good game. I think the line right now over on FanDuel is 3.5, right? So I think it's going to be a good game. I think the Houston Texans could possibly surprise a lot of people. They're going up against one of the better teams in the NFL. But in order for them to get that win Monday night, I'm curious to see how the Houston Texans will rebound going out there without Christian Kirk. So we'll dive into that topic to kick off today's show. And then in the second segment of the show, I'll look at, who's out for Seattle. Could that play a role in Houston's potential victory? And also the special teams edge. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Pick app today and use code Locked On NFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. No Christian Kirk on Monday. That has already been made official. And so without Christian Kirk, we got to look at what Houston is going to be potentially missing. They're going to be missing a receiver who understands the nuances of the offense and what it is asking of each skilled player, the IQ of the game, and you look at that and that connection that he's going to that he provided for C.J. Stroud. Won't have that Monday in Houston's potentially biggest game of the year. For an offense that hasn't had consistent factors outside of Nico and Dalton Schultz, Houston will be without their third in targets option. Also, without Christian Kirk, you're potentially missing a big play out there as well. The big thing that kind of scares me right now for the Texans, Houston is losing its true slot receiver. Kirk missed the first 2 games of the season, and if we take Dalton Schultz out of it, he still leads the team in snaps from the slot. He has 25 more more snaps from the slot than the next receiver. Houston is known to play the inactive numbers game on a game-to-game basis. That said, has Braxton Berrios fully recovered? Is he healthy enough to play for Houston Monday? Has he been healthy enough to play this entire time? Or has Houston purposely kept him inactive because they want to see, get other guys on the field? That's a question. I'm not sure this is if it's absolutely the case or not. Just my own speculation, not a fact. I spoke with Berrios a few weeks back, and he looked ready to go. He even mentioned that he's getting closer and closer to returning to the field. So maybe he's been ready to go, and Houston has purposely kept him out. They never put him on IR. So I'm curious to see what his role, if any, will be on Monday. Plus, in the 3 games for Houston, Kirk is part of the most efficient lineup Houston deploys. When it's been Kirk with the combination of Nico, Schultz, and either of the running backs, the Texans have seen 14 first downs, 132 yak yards, and 4 TDs to this point of the season. We know Houston loves those out routes where Houston runs them at nearly a 20% rate of the time. For Kirk, he runs that out route at a nearly 26%, especially on first downs, where the number sits at 29%. He's been out there. Has he been a consistent difference maker? No, he's not been a consistent difference maker. You can maybe make the case that for Kirk, he's only had maybe 1 or 2 splash plays in his 3 games he's been featured for Houston, 2 games under 30 yards. So he has not been a consistent difference maker for the Houston Texans on a grand scale. Half of his yards have come from that one play. Kirk not being out there is more so a guy knowing where to be. And I think that's an underrated element of this offense. I also think that's a big reason why we don't see guys like Jaylin Noel on the field more often than the rookie Jaden Higgins. So that said, I think Berrios is needed for Houston. If you can go, not giving him unrealistic expectations, of what I think he'll do. We did see him get busy in training camp. I thought he had a very good training camp. I thought he had a decent preseason, scored in the preseason. But just, him out there being healthy, knowing what to be, the overall idea of him being available for Houston in the slot as a experienced slot receiver. I think that's important. I also will love the opportunities for Higgins to maybe get into that power slot role. His lone TD of the year came from the slot. I know most people are looking for more Noel. There might just be a disconnect right there, but Hutch has been playing some of the best ball of his career outside. And I think Higgins, with some of the opportunities underneath, might be able to create some of those mismatches because of his size, height, and his ability to go up for the ball, become more so of a possession receiver for the game. Now, former co-host of the show, Brian Bearfield, he had an opportunity to ask Nick Caley, offensive coordinator, Nick Caley, on Friday about essentially getting the best out of the players. And I want you guys to hear what Caley had to say.
Yeah, I think, you assess everything starting in spring, okay? I think we find out, just by being together and having time on task a little bit more about each other. And I think the whole purpose and the goal, it is players over plays. I mean, we all generally run similar plays. There's different structures and different systems and stuff like that for sure. But I think, it's what do guys do well? And that changes, again, from week to week and year to year, team to team. But you always want to try to allow those guys to be put in a position to utilize their skill set, and we'll always do that. I mean, and I said this before, and I'm not trying to go back to it, but like when I was a defensive backs coach, it was the same exact deal. It didn't change what side of the ball you're on. You're trying to find out the strengths of the guys that you have. You're trying to put them in position to best have success, to help our team have success. And I think just the more time you have on task, the more opportunities you have to see what maybe little wrinkles guys can do, or what compliments, maybe a receiver can do off of certain routes that he's already been pretty good at, that, can be change-ups, or certain run schemes that maybe a back might have a good feel for, or, and some guys develop into having a better feel for certain things. So I think it's just time on task and being able to have more exposure to those guys. And it's been healthy for us. We just got to keep it moving in that direction.
Before moving on to the next conversation, a few things from that Caley statement there of the video I just played. He talked about the skill set of the player. Again, with Christian Kirk being out, how can he utilize some of the different skill sets of the players that he will have active Monday night? How can he put them in the best position, for team success? He mentioned that. I also like that he acknowledged, hey, what I knew about those guys when I first got here is different from what I know about them now. So I like that he acknowledged that. And I also think the players are taking more to him and he's taking more to the players. So they both have a better feel for one another compared to we're in October now, 9 months ago, maybe 7 to 8 months ago. So I like that he acknowledged that, because that's the truth. Also, what they do well changes week to week. I think that's a great point. The last 2 points that I made, hey, listen, I think that maybe you should flirt a little bit more with Nico Collins in the slot. He's going to be a consistent match maker and difference maker, So if he's in the slot, can he create a different matchup for himself that's more favorable for other guys around him? And if so, CJ gets the time to find those guys, then that leads to more team success at times with the offense, because everybody's getting an opportunity to eat and touch the ball. And also little wrinkles. He's playing one of the better defenses in the NFL, one of the better run defenses in the NFL, if not the best run defense in the NFL. One of the, great offense. So we are expecting Seattle to score points. The expectation for Houston is, can you keep up and score points with them? So the little wrinkles part, I am going to be looking at how Nick Caley creates his own advantages against a very good Seattle defense that, again, the best run defense in the NFL. How can he do something that maybe Seattle isn't prepared for, especially in first and second quarter and on first and second downs. Now, when we come back on the opposite side, who's out for Seattle? And also a little special team edge talk from Frank Ross. If you are a business owner, here is the truth. SaaS promise to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the united platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance. All in one place, they've helped millions of businesses replace a disconnected tool with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly synced. It's seriously simple to use and gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. And right now you can get 6 months free. That's right, 6 months for free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonnfl. That's rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months for free. Terms and conditions apply. And also, while we're taking care of the serious business, let's have a little fun, and let's do so with Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is so fun. Simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player stat projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown. And I suggest right now you put the less on that, and you're in the game. Favorite part about Prize Picks, they just added stacks. So if I want to ride with a player, I can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. So CJ Stroud, over 220, more or less, 1.5 touchdowns. You can put it all on one ticket on Prize Picks. Simple, easy. So download the Prize Pick app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 lineup after you play your first $5 lineups. Prize Picks is good to be right. Battle Red Nation, we are back talking Texans, and with this conversation, listen, Frank Ross, I don't know how much longer Frank Ross has as just a special teams coach. He's putting it together. A lot of people make those jokes like he looks like the Punisher. I agree. If he gets a Disney Plus deal, I'd love to see that. But Frank Ross is one of the better special team coaches in the NFL, and he has a little advice for you guys. I know Monday night is a late game for many of us here in Houston. Some of y'all, I've seen the tweets in the comments, you may call off for work the next day to give yourself some time to relax, especially if the Texans win that game. You may be turned up a little bit too much. But if you need help staying up, Frank Ross, help him out.
Anybody, let me know if this joke lands. If anybody in the city of Houston is looking for a little caffeine, come up to the special teams office. We'll sponsor you an energy drink or something so you stay up for this one. All right? No. Okay.
That's Frank Ross, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to dive a little bit into the Seattle IR coming up for Monday night. So linebacker Derek Hall is out. Julian Love, Josh Jones, and Devin Witherspoon at this current time are all questionable. Julian Love, a player that I really wanted here in Houston when he came out of college. Houston with Lonnie Johnson in that draft. And years later, Julian Love is on, I think, his third contract. But safety, Josh Jones tackle. And then, we know Devin Witherspoon, the cornerback, who's played some good football for Seattle. And so I think that's important. We also look at Josh Jobe, who came out of Bama a couple years ago. He's been the starter since week 2. He's allowed the most receiving yards on that team from a cornerback. So obviously that's a matchup that the Houston Texans could potentially exploit. And I think the last 2 games for Houston, they've done a better job in understanding the weakness of an opposing team and just attacking it. So Josh, the cornerback, could have a rough day for the Houston Texans, for Seattle, but that will play well for the Houston Texans. Now, just kind of looking at the special team edge, the Texans, looking at some of the special team numbers, Seattle is 4th best in the NFL in punt yards per game at 15.5, and 2nd best in kick return yards at 28.3 yards per game. Really going to be a good battle for special teams. Texans opponents' average starting field position is at 26.8. Also 10 punt yards return per game. Seattle sits at 26.5 opponent average starting field position and allows nearly 12 punt yards returned per game. Frank Ross, I kind of highlighted Frank Ross a little bit to this point, but he also talked about Seattle's special team unit and them being one of the better units in the NFL.
What's your favorite energy drink?
Black coffee. Believe it or not. Black coffee. Yeah. Hi, guys. Good to see you. All right. So to me, I don't care about rankings. I don't care about statistics. I watch the tape. And Seattle has done an unbelievable job. I've never gotten to face Jay Harbaugh, who is the nephew, obviously. John's coach for him, the son of Jim, coach for him, Michigan, all the things. And what's unique about Seattle's special teams is that they use a lot of offensive players. They are a game plan team. So every week they're moving their parts around, tailoring it. It's not a form fill and then they play hard. That's not what it is. And then they have their wrinkles. So for us, to me, I look at it, it's the best special teams unit we faced this far, and I'm watching these crossover tape. You can argue they're the top in the league right now. So that's not smoke. That's what I'm seeing on the tape. And a great kicker, top-paid punter in the league, dynamic return men. I mean, they're leading the kick returns out. Raw starting points. So we're going up for Monday Night Football. You know how exciting that is, but that place is going to be hectic. And for us, we've got to make sure it is a nullified return every time we go out there and cover. Our return, we got to be on it. Stop their most dynamic players. Brady Russell, Jake Bobo, dynamic returner, and Derike Young, guys, rookie returner, Torrey Horton out of Colorado State. We have to be on it and excited for the challenge to go up against one of the NFL's best so far this year. Take your questions.
With that said, they're at the top.
I love hearing coaches highlight other things that teams do well. Frank Ross, extremely intelligent, very keen to detail type of guy. And so, he's absolutely right. And for a lot of us, the conversation could be, we talk about getting the young guys on the field. Again, this is Jaylin Noel's best chance to be a game changer in his young career, I think, for Houston. Only 22 receiving yards on the year, and I get it. That's frustrating. His snaps played on offense is frustrating for a lot of us, right? That's very underwhelming. But look at this, guys. He's averaging just over 11 yards per punt return with a long of 54 on the year, and that was the Tampa game. He's averaging 27 yards per kick return with a long of 34. And you got to know, that unit is looking for every edge they can create. And to kind of go back to when Nick Caley said, what do the players do well? What's their skill set? Looking at different ways that, that skill set can be good for team success. Jaylin Noel, he also mentioned the little wrinkles. Jaylin Noel, in the return game for special teams is a wrinkle. It's a playmaker that can, put him in what he does very well to aid team success. So if he isn't getting those touches on offense, and without Christian Kirk, maybe those numbers increase. Again, waiting to see what the news will be for Braxton Berrios come out of NRG and 610 soon. Will he play? But if he's not getting those touches, Jaylin Noel on offense, Frank Ross is probably telling him and firing him up. Hey man, I need you. Find that crease, get upfield, be a game changer by flipping the field for the offense. So when you do get out there, you're not looking at a long distance to score points, to score a touchdown, to score a field goal. And that's what I like. I think you guys should look at that type of conversation and look at it kind of on a grand scale of what does my defense do well? What does my offense do well? But we typically leave out the special teams. And with this unit that Houston has that's coached up, pretty damn good, I think Frank Ross is going to take a little bit personal to make sure that, hey, guys, be in our spots, find the creases, get upfield, don't miss tackles, security. Don't allow a missed tackle to be an extra 5 yards because that hurts us in the end. My final thoughts before the game, maybe a little bit everywhere. I want to see Houston win. I think they're playing a great team over in Seattle. So just my final thoughts, stick around for that. And I also want you guys to give your final thoughts before the game as well in the YouTube section, a comment section, or you can tweet me. But we got more Locked On Texans talk to close out today's show. Before we have the Locked On Texans conversation, my final thoughts. I have thoughts. I have thoughts about vehicles. And I have thoughts about the current state of vehicles right now. Sometimes it feels like it's not all cracked up some of these vehicles need to be. But when you have a trusted name like Mazda, when you have Mazda, who is the top IIHS Safety Award winner, when you have Mazda, when you can make every drive feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls, in their all-wheel standard crossover SUVs that make driving more than a trip. Everything the athletes sweat, the small details with, Mazda brings that same intention to how they craft every model. When you have Mazda doing all of that, it might be time for you to go check out a Mazda and make sure that you're driving safe. And also, your drive, your trip is more than just a trip. Like our players, we sweat every details because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. And also, Texan fans, I'll let you guys know that the Texans are underdogs right now. They are 3.5 underdogs. Where over on FanDuel, and with the NFL season being here, FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. That's right. Pick a bet, put $5 down on it, and if it hits, you will unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel gives you so many different ways to play and build parlays, player props, even follow the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little bit of something extra riding on the action. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download FanDuel today and get started. Again, visit FanDuel.com to download FanDuel today to get started. Closing out today's show, Texan fans, my final thoughts on Monday night. Houston is going into Lumen Field. They're going up against the 12th man. That stadium does a very good job of taking away any advantage a team can create, but more so, and I think it's important to say, more so gives their home field an advantage. You look at how they're coached right now, one of the better coached teams in the NFL. You look at how their offense is put together. Sam Darnold's playing at an MVP type of level. Not a lot of quarterbacks playing football better than him. There's not a receiver playing better football than JSN right now. Nobody. Their tight ends are impactful to the game. A.J. Barner, also the rookie Elijah Arroyo. He's had a minor impact, but an impact nonetheless. The offensive line is playing good football. My final thoughts before this game is and it's kind of twofold. I am still very much so concerned of what this Houston Texans offense will do when they have to score points to stay in the game. The last two games for Houston, the defense probably could have won those games, and all Houston would have had to do is score 10 points. It's not the same team in Seattle. They are going to score points. Now, do I think that they're going to go out there and score the 26, 27 that they've been scoring on the year? No, I don't think that they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to do that. Let's look at and I mentioned it a few times. LA was held to 14 points. I think LA just scored almost 40 points Sunday afternoon. They have another nearly 30 burger on their record. They score points in LA. Houston held them to 14 points. All the way up until 7 seconds left in the game against Tampa, Tampa had only scored 13 points. So, advantage for Houston defensively wise, I know that they're going to do whatever they can to give the offense an opportunity, but that Seattle offense is going to at least score 14 points. And with the issues that Seattle presents, my concern is, will Houston be able to score 15, essentially score more? And I think it's okay if I say I don't know. Now, in conjunction to that, let's say the Houston Texans go out there and that offense is clicking. Let's say that offense is clicking on all cylinders, and the best run defense in the NFL is having issues stopping a Nick Chubb who quietly, and maybe Ashley, Titus Howard put him on Instagram the other day, needs ashes all outdoors, like he had been praying in powder. Lord help him. Find some lotion. But he's quietly been putting a couple performances back-to-back, respectable, but he's getting his legs back under him. And Woody Marks, the dynamic that young man can bring. See, for Marks, it ain't always going to be about rushing yards by itself. It ain't going to always be about receiving yards by itself. It's going to always be scrimmage yards. So the challenges that he presents, and Dalton Schultz continues to play how he's been playing at a high level. Brendan Bates, I'm starting to like this guy. I thought he did a couple of good things. Harrison Bryant has also played some good football for Houston. And you talk about wrinkles in the game for Nick Caley. Brooks is technically a running back. He's just playing fullback. So is there going to be something to, open for him to do, or is he going to be the inactive player to get Braxton Berrios back on? Still curious to see how that works out. But if Kirk isn't playing, then I don't think that Berrios coming back affects anybody that has already been playing. But let's just say they go out there and they are balling. Then the entire narrative around the Houston Texans may hit that 90-degree turn where it's not a full 180, where we really start to think differently and look at this team differently. But now, at 45, the idea was there. At the 90-degree point, you got to start looking at what will it take for real and acknowledge that, hey, Houston is kind of turning me back, and this could be a 180 change. I think if they beat Seattle, it'll be a 180 change. The timing of the game, coming off the bye, where Houston is right now and trying to make a push to do something. Jacksonville got worked Sunday. Indy continues to be a good football team. Let's not disrespect Indy at all three phases. And they are doing it with some good football from Daniel Jones. You looking around the league, man, Houston is not out of this thing. So if they win against Seattle Monday night, the offense is clicking. The defense plays how they've been playing, right? And if the score is 24-20, Houston's way, and Kaimi Fairbairn is not the highlight of the offensive game, like the score points, my thought would be, hey man, Coach Ryans, you know what? Early in the season, I got a little bit emotional, and I was kind of evoking emotion from the listeners because I was wondering, are y'all on the same page? But you got it back together, and I think right now that they are on the same page. Caley, you scared me a little bit. I was terrified, but now, and CJ, you back in some of those talks that technically I don't think CJ never left some of those conversations. Honestly, again, we judge him too much on pressure. When he's judged based on what he does without the pressure, the conversation, he's in it and he's sitting down at the table. So I'm pulling for Houston to win this game. I want to be like Frank Ross.
The only thing in the world that matters to me right now is my family and being 3-3. That is it.
I want to be like that. I don't want to be like Mike. I want to be like Frank. Tuesday morning, I want to be like Frank. And if Houston pulls it off, we got a lot to celebrate. We got a lot to look at. Got a lot to kind of judge and evaluate. But if Houston beats Seattle and goes 3-3 and improves their chances to make the playoffs, the narrative around this Houston Texans team, seriously, will be different. I'm John Hickman. Make sure that you follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. My everydayers from the Himalayas and also the newcomers to the show. Thank you for sticking around to this point. Please make sure that you subscribe, like, and follow. I want to hear what y'all final thoughts are before the game. I want to hear that from you guys. So drop them in the comment section. Tweet me on social media as well. Until next time, ladies and gents, Texas fans across the nation from 713 to 213 to the 409 to the 504 to the 716. Peace. We got a game, y'all.